Is Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum the most powerful woman in the world? Well, that's what many are wondering after she faced off with U.S. President Trump over his plan to put tariffs on Mexican goods.
Donald Trump thought he could bully Mexico into submission with tariffs, but he never saw this coming. Mexico's president just delivered a response so powerful, it forced Trump to retreat. What really happened behind closed doors? And why has Trump suddenly gone silent? Get ready, because this political showdown just took an unexpected twist. And before we dive into the details, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any major updates on this developing story. Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum is getting a lot of praise for how she is handling U.S. President Donald Trump, who is known for being unpredictable and tough in negotiations. Recently, she managed to stop the U.S. from putting new tariffs on Mexico for 1 month, which could have hurt the country's economy. People in Mexico were happy about this and gathered in Mexico City's Zocalo Square to show their support. Sheinbaum told the crowd that respect and dialogue helped avoid a bigger problem.
Trump has backed down, for now at least. On Sunday, more than 100,000 of Sheinbaum's supporters rallied in Mexico City to celebrate the country being exempted from tariffs on goods covered by an existing trade agreement.
Sheinbaum has stayed calm and careful when dealing with Trump, choosing to be patient instead of reacting quickly. This has helped her gain even more support in Mexico. Recent surveys show that more than 80% of Mexicans approve of her leadership. Many people believe she is making smart decisions in protecting Mexico's interests. World leaders have also noticed her approach. German Chancellor Olaf Scholz called her a smart politician for staying calm under pressure. Even Trump, who often criticizes other leaders, said she is a marvelous woman. Still, the situation is not over. The tariffs are only paused for now, and Mexico may face more economic challenges ahead. But it seems Sheinbaum is prepared to do what it takes to protect her country, and this time, she may fight dirty if Trump decides to put a tariff on Mexico. Let's take a step back and look at why Mexico is so important to the United States. The United States and Mexico have a deep economic relationship, relying on each other for food, manufacturing, and energy. Mexico plays a crucial role in keeping prices low for American consumers, and without its support, the U.S. economy would face major disruptions. President Trump knows this, and that is why he is obviously being very careful not to get things messed up with President Sheinbaum. Mexico plays a crucial role in keeping America's food supply stable and affordable. In 2023 alone, it was the largest exporter of fresh produce to the U.S., shipping an estimated 25.1 billion pounds of fruits and vegetables, valued at $17.96 billion. Mexico supplies 73% of all fresh vegetables and 34% of fresh fruits imported by the United States, including staples like tomatoes, avocados, berries, and peppers, foods millions of Americans consume daily. Without Mexico's agricultural exports, U.S. grocery stores would face shortages, and prices would soar, making fresh produce less accessible for American families. Mexico's agricultural exports also help keep food prices in the U.S. affordable. Lower labor and production costs allow American grocery stores to sell produce at lower prices, easing the burden on consumers. When domestic food production struggles, Mexico steps in to fill the gap. A striking example of this came when U.S. egg prices skyrocketed to $10 per dozen, leading to a surge in people smuggling cheaper eggs from Mexico. This underscores Mexico's vital role in stabilizing food costs and ensuring American households have access to essential goods year-round. Mexico is also essential for U.S. manufacturing, especially in the car industry. In 2024, Mexico exported over $500 billion worth of goods to the U.S. A big portion of this was cars and auto parts, which are made in Mexico and then sold to American car companies. Other key exports include electronic equipment and machinery, which are needed to produce a wide range of consumer products. The USMXA agreement was designed to keep trade smooth and stable between the three countries. Yet, political tensions are once again putting this agreement to the test. With some U.S. politicians advocating for tariffs on Mexican goods, the consequences could be severe, particularly in industries like automobile manufacturing, where American companies depend on Mexico for affordable production. Replacing these supply chains wouldn't just be costly, it would take years and disrupt entire industries. Many of the affordable products Americans enjoy, like electronics, clothing, and household goods, come from Mexico. If tariffs were placed on Mexican imports, prices at U.S. stores would rise. This is because manufacturing costs in the U.S. are much higher than in Mexico. For example, Mexico exports a huge number of TVs and appliances to the U.S. If those imports became more expensive, American families would have to spend more on basic items. This could also make inflation worse, affecting the overall economy. Mexico also supplies the U.S. with energy resources. In 2023, it sent $20 billion worth of crude petroleum to the U.S. This helps keep energy prices stable. Any disruption in this trade could lead to higher gas and electricity prices for American businesses and households. Despite these crucial economic ties, Trump remains undeterred, continuing to push for tariffs on Mexican goods. So what would this look like? Tensions between the United States and Mexico have reached a boiling point. In a bold move, President Donald Trump's administration has slapped a 25% tariff on all Mexican imports, citing concerns over illegal immigration and drug trafficking. This decision poses a serious threat to Mexico's economy, as more than 80% of its exports are tied to the U.S. market. The consequences are far-reaching. Industries on both sides of the border face disruptions, jobs are at risk, and American consumers could soon feel the pinch of rising prices. In 2024 alone, trade between Mexico and the U.S. totaled a staggering $600 billion, underscoring just how high the stakes are. But the impact doesn't stop there. The U.S. has also imposed tariffs on Canada and China, triggering a ripple effect across global markets. In response, both Canada and Mexico have announced retaliatory tariffs on American goods, raising the specter of an all-out trade war. The uncertainty surrounding these policies has left investors and businesses scrambling to adjust, further destabilizing an already volatile economic landscape. Amid the turmoil, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has emerged as a formidable leader. Taking office in October 2024, she has wasted no time in tackling the crisis head-on. Her administration has adopted a strategic mix of diplomacy and firm action, including the deployment of 10,000 National Guard troops to the U.S.-Mexico border, a direct response to one of Trump's primary concerns. The political stakes are just as high. Trump's aggressive tariff strategy is a high-risk gamble aimed at pressuring neighboring countries into compliance. However, such tactics could backfire, straining alliances, disrupting regional cooperation, and weakening America's standing on the global stage. As the battle over trade and policy intensifies, the delicate balance between diplomacy and economic survival is being tested like never before, potentially reshaping international relations for years to come. While public statements from both governments remained firm, the real battle unfolded behind closed doors. Sheinbaum's team understood that direct confrontation with the U.S. administration would be risky, so they adopted a subtler approach. Mexican diplomats, trade officials, and corporate executives worked in tandem, launching a behind-the-scenes lobbying effort to shift the narrative in Washington. Instead of focusing solely on government negotiations, they leveraged private sector influence. Meetings were held with top executives from major U.S. companies reliant on Mexican supply chains. Automotive manufacturers, agricultural producers, and technology firms were reminded of the billions at stake if tariffs disrupted trade. These businesses, in turn, lobbied their own government, warning that tariffs would not only harm Mexico, but would also backfire on the U.S. economy. Mexico's strategy wasn't limited to direct engagement with the Trump administration. Lawmakers in Congress, particularly those from states with strong trade ties to Mexico, were brought into the loop. Governors, senators, and representatives from agricultural and industrial hubs were given clear data on how tariffs would affect jobs and prices in their home states. These politicians, facing pressure from both voters and business interests, began voicing concerns publicly, creating bipartisan opposition to the tariffs. At the same time, Mexican officials worked with international trade organizations to emphasize the potential breach of trade agreements. the looming tariffs were framed as a violation of the USMCA agreement, a pact that had only recently been ratified. By raising legal and economic concerns at multiple levels, Mexico created a layered defense that made it harder for the U.S. government to push forward without significant political cost. The combined pressure from business leaders, lawmakers, and trade organizations had its effect. The Trump administration, facing growing opposition from within its own ranks, announced a one-month delay on the tariffs. Though officials in Washington gave mixed signals about whether the tariffs were truly off the table, the immediate crisis had been averted. Yet, despite this victory, there is still uncertainty. Mexican officials knew that as long as trade remained a key political tool, future threats were inevitable. The question now was not just about avoiding tariffs, but about building a long-term strategy to shield Mexico's economy from sudden policy shifts. While Sheinbaum thrived, the situation in Washington was far more chaotic. The tariff delay sent mixed signals to Trump's supporters. Hardline conservatives, who had backed his aggressive trade stance, viewed the retreat as a sign of weakness. Some feared that the administration was caving to economic pressure, while others saw it as a strategic pause before launching a stronger offensive. Inside the White House, the lack of a unified message created further instability. Some officials publicly insisted that tariffs were still a possibility, while others downplayed the idea, citing economic risks. This inconsistency weakened Trump's negotiating position, both domestically and internationally. Allies and opponents alike began questioning whether his threats carried real weight or were merely political bluffs. The episode had lasting implications for both leaders. Sheinbaum's decisive handling of the crisis strengthened Mexico's position in future negotiations with the U.S. Her government had proven that diplomatic pressure, when executed strategically, could yield real results. This boosted Mexico's confidence in dealing with other international trade disputes. This policy had significant implications for various sectors of the American economy, particularly those reliant on Mexican imports. For instance, the tequila industry faced considerable challenges. Major tequila producers and retailers preemptively stockpiled large quantities of tequila to mitigate potential tariff impacts, incurring substantial storage costs and halting new hires and product launches. Companies like Calabasas Beverage Company faced additional expenses amounting to $2 million, with storage costs increasing by 10%. Beyond specific products, the broader economic ramifications included potential retaliatory tariffs from Mexico, which could affect U.S. exports and jobs. For example, Texas, a significant player in international trade, faced projections of losing $51.7 billion in annual gross product and approximately 410,000 jobs if such tariffs persisted. Recent polling data indicates a growing dissatisfaction among Americans regarding President Donald Trump's economic policies. A CNN/SSRS poll reveals that 56% of respondents disapprove of his economic management, marking the first time a majority have expressed such sentiment. Similarly, a Reuters Ipsos survey indicates that 57% of Americans perceive Trump's economic actions as too erratic, with 70% concerned that increasing tariffs will elevate living costs. These figures suggest a significant shift in public opinion compared to earlier in his presidency. For instance, in December 2017, 49% disapproved of his economic handling, highlighting a notable increase in dissatisfaction. Additionally, a CBS News YouGov poll indicates that 48% of registered voters believe Trump's policies are worsening the economy, while only 44% think they are beneficial. The discontent extends beyond general economic management to specific policies. Over 60% of respondents in the CNN/SSRS poll disapprove of Trump's tariff strategies, reflecting widespread concern about potential price hikes on everyday goods. Furthermore, the Reuters Ipsos poll reveals that 70% of Americans anticipate that escalating tariffs will increase living expenses, underscoring fears about the direct impact on household budgets. This growing unease among the public is mirrored in the financial markets. The S&P 500 has entered correction territory, with stocks plummeting amid Trump's tariff threats, marking a challenging period for Wall Street. Economists are also forecasting a slowdown in U.S. economic growth and increased inflation, driven by Trump's tariffs and policies impacting government institutions. In summary, current polling data reflects a significant decline in public approval of President Trump's economic policies, with specific concerns about his approach to tariffs and trade. This sentiment is contributing to broader economic anxieties and market volatility, suggesting a need for policy reassessment to address public and economic concerns. Sheinbaum has proven she won't be intimidated, successfully pushing back against Trump's tariff threats. For now. But this battle is far from over. The real question is, can she maintain this momentum? Or will Trump escalate the conflict, risking even greater economic damage? One thing is certain. This fight isn't just about politics. It's about the future of trade, jobs, and the cost of living for millions on both sides of the border. We'll be following every twist and turn, so don't miss out. Subscribe now and stay ahead of the story.